Hello beautiful people, I am currently in my bathroom because it's nighttime and I have no light anywhere else, so please just bear with me. I am not going to be in here the whole time. But I wanted to show you my very ambitious TBR for December. I'm super excited, super excited. Christmas is my favorite holiday. I absolutely love Christmas and all of these books are Christmassy. Obviously there are a lot. So I'm going to walk you through them really quickly. I'm currently reading this One Day in December by Josie Silver, and it is about a woman who sees this man one day from a bus and she's like, that's my soulmate. And then bus goes away and for the next year she's thinking about this guy, and then surprise, her best friend slash roommate starts dating him. It does jump really quickly into that story, so it's not any spoilers at all. Then I have The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter, and I got this one from Book of the Month. I've heard it's an amazing audiobook though, so if I'm getting a little bit closer to the end of the month, I am just going to pop this one on Audible. But it's kind of a British comedy whodunit, people are saying Knives Out kind of situation, so I'm super excited about that. I love a good like comedy whodunit kind of situation. Then we have a fake dating trope with childhood acquaintances. I don't think they were friends. It says acquaintances on the back. It is Snowed In by Catherine Walsh. I don't know a ton about this. I haven't seen a bunch about it. I really liked the cover in Barnes & Noble, so I grabbed this one. Then I also have from Book of the Month, but I actually got this one from a little library, so I think it's pretty interesting to have it from Book of the Month. And it says it's from December of 2023. But this one has elements of family and a secret recipe, and it's very food heavy, it sounds like, and I absolutely love food. It is called A Winter in New York by Josie Silver. Also, One Day in December is by Josie Silver, so I'm excited to read 2 of her books. Then I have How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. This one I've heard has some spicy use of a candy cane, so that's going to be interesting, and it is definitely the biggest one I have out of the stack. I'm pretty excited for it. I've heard the banter is super good. Then I have One Big Happy Family by Susan Mallory, and this one, it has more emphasis on a family aspect, obviously, and I just liked the take on a Christmas novel that was mostly family focused. I also think this is going to be interesting to kind of read about a mother around Christmas time, because we all know mothers do a ton around Christmas time. They are really the glue that holds it all together. Then I have Something About Mary by Cody Hole. This is technically, I believe, the second in a series, but you don't have to read them all together. They're just kind of integrated. So I'm excited for this one. I love the pink on it as well. I wasn't supposed to get another Christmas book, but I loved the pink. And it is actually based at a tree farm, which I think is super cute. But I know this one involves like dating apps and a single dad, I believe. And then finally I have Love Light Farms by B.K. Barrison. This one is also in a series, but you can again read it standalone. And this one is also a Christmas tree farm, but it has a different take on it, where I believe she is like an influencer type and she wants to market the farm as a place, as a romantic destination, but because she's single, she decides to fake date the guy and try and save the business. But that is everything I'm going for this month. Wish me luck. But of course, I could not do this by myself, so I designed a grid, and it has just, I think, 3 tropes or ways to describe every single one of the books, and I sent it to all my friends, and with their responses, I'm deciding my reading order. So 2 of my friends picked number 4, and that would be How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. I did put this as the spiciest one of the bunch, so I believe they went for it because of that, but I'm excited for it nonetheless. I have officially finished this book. I'm gonna give it probably a 4 out of 5. I actually really liked it. I am pretty surprised how much I liked it. I really liked the characters, their banter, and the kind of element of there is a Christmas competition and they have to do a bunch of tasks and rounds to see who wins the competition. Even though there was spice, I was able to skip over it because it didn't last a super long time. I want to say there were 3 or 4 scenes that I skipped over, but for how big this book is, I think that's pretty good. At the beginning of every chapter, they have a little rhyme, poem kind of thing, and I don't want to spoil any of the book by reading those, so I'll read you the first couple sentences of the prologue because it sets it up like that. So the prologue is, Every Kringle in Kringletown celebrated Christmas a lot, but Coal Black on Whistler Lane unfortunately did not. I really like that, but then I also found myself trying to read the actual chapter in that cadence, which really threw me off at first, but I ended up adapting to it. Then on page 281, at the very end, it has PROD, which I'm assuming is producer, and then insert paragraph break here as Krista notes above. So I feel like maybe this book just didn't have the last round of editing that it needed to, but that was only like 2 or 3 of those instances I really saw throughout the novel, and this is the most obvious one. Overall, it was a pretty easy read, pretty long. It's just under 500 pages. I bookmarked a couple of quotes that I liked, but it's nothing that I'm like taking a life lesson from, but I did like it more than I expected, and I would recommend this. And then my mother and my friend Kat went for The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year, so I'll be reading that one second, or with the audiobook. And then my sister and my friend Rebecca chose One Day in December, so I'm super excited for this one. It is technically more December-y, wintry, instead of Christmas specific, but I still think it's going to be really good for this video, and I'm still super excited for this one. I just started One Day in December by Josie Silver. I am probably a quarter of the way through it. I'm trying to figure out how I feel about it because I did anticipate a cheating trope going into it, but it did still bother me, and I don't know if I want to take off any points for that because I knew it going into it, so it's kind of hard to judge. But I like the book so far, I say hesitantly. There is a very random part of this book where the female main character just goes on a trip out of the blue, and then all of a sudden we're in like a different country, and it's so strange, but they do introduce a new character while she's there, so I'm interested to see how those kind of tie into each other. I was sitting at probably like a 3.75 up until that trip, and now I'm closer to like a 3.25 just because I was so caught off guard. It was so random, and it only lasted for a couple chapters. Okay, very quick check-in because I just got to work a little bit early. I don't know if I'm liking One Day in December, to be honest. I think there's a lot that happens, and I'm on page 200, I believe, and I think 5 big things have happened, and it's honestly making me not want to read the Winter in New York one, so I might not be reading that one. I think a big issue that I'm having is because it's set over the course of years, it's kind of jumping to big thing after big thing after big thing, instead of allowing us to kind of focus on the actual relationships. And that is like a very big part of it, is the relationships. So it's kind of weird to describe, but it's not my favorite writing style. I think if that's something that you like, I think you'll love this book. I don't think it's a bad book. I think it's well written in the sense that I can clearly follow what's going on. I just don't think I like the overall structure and how many big things are happening. Like, I feel like every other chapter I'm getting whiplash because there's a big thing that's happened. It's definitely not my favorite book I've read so far, which is kind of disappointing because I was super excited for it. I loved the premise of the book. I have just come in from a night out, but I really wanted to say something about Josie Silver. Unfortunately, I will not be reading this book. I do not think I get along with how Josie Silver writes, and I think someone else will really like it, and I really like how she writes some of this stuff, but overall I feel like she's thrown a whole bunch of conflict into the story, and I think, of course, I'm basing it off of the one that I'm currently reading, but there is just something, this is based over the course of years, and every chapter jumps to a different month, so I feel like I'm only getting highlight points of someone's life instead of just the kind of mundane days where you kind of see more of their relationships. But I'm almost done with this book. I have maybe 100 pages left, but I just feel like so much conflict has been thrown into this story, and I feel like it makes sense, but I don't think I like it. So it's just not my favorite. I do think a lot of people would like this writing style, so please don't let this deter you from reading Josie Silver in general, especially this book. But I feel like I'm reading more literary fiction and not like kind of like a rom-com like I expected. Okay, I finished the book last night and the ending was okay. It was what I expected to happen, but not the way I expected it to happen. But because I didn't really like it, I will not be reading this one, and I figured that someone else might want to read it because I think it will be someone else's favorite writing style. So I'm going to drop them off at the little library right now. But because people only picked those three, I think I can kind of have my pick of the litter with these ones.
The next book we are going to be reading is Lovelight Farms by B.K. Barson. I'm pretty excited because I've heard a lot of really great stuff about this series and this book, but it is fake dating and a Christmassy tree farm.
I have finished Lovelight Farms and I definitely liked it. I don't think I was like in love with it, but I really liked it. It was very, very cute. I want to give this a 3.75 because I did really like it, but I don't really feel like it did a lot for me. Like, I don't really feel like there's a huge lasting effect from this book, but I do think it was super good. And I'm definitely interested in reading the other books by B.K. Barson about the same characters that are in this book, because I did really like it. So it's really weird to not give it like at least a 4. But I found that the fake dating was really the only storyline. There was a kind of, it felt like the main plot should have been a subplot. I was incorrect that the main girl is not an influencer. She, in fact, owns the farm and he works there as well. And they are childhood friends. They've known each other for 10 years, I want to say, give or take. And they decide to fake date because of an Instagram contest that she enters them into. So I did speak incorrectly when I said that she was an influencer, but regardless, I really, really, really like the story. 3.75. I don't know if I could bump it up to a 4 regularly, but if I had to pick a whole star rating, I would definitely pick a 4. So we're gonna put 3.75 right now and then see how we feel about that. I think it was super cute. I think it was really easy to read as well, and I really liked their relationship. I think there was only 1, maybe 2 smutty scenes as well that I just kind of skimmed over. And then I've also picked up Snowed In by Catherine Walsh. I have been reading this for a day, maybe 2. I love this book. I love this book already so much. I'm finding it so nice and fast-paced. It is these 2 people who come from the same hometown and they basically fake date each other for the holidays so their families will stop asking questions like when you're going to be in a relationship and everything like that. I'm really, really enjoying the dynamic. I'm enjoying the writing style. This one is probably ranking the highest out of the Christmas books that I've read so far, even though I did give How My Neighbor Stole Christmas 4 stars. I'm liking this one a lot more. I'm finding the way Catherine Walsh writes is very compatible with what I like, and I find her just so easy to read. This actually was a last-minute purchase as well from Barnes & Noble. I went with the intent of getting something else and found this one. It sounded fun. I didn't really know much else about it.
Okay, I got some good news and some bad news. I have finished Snowed In by Catherine Walsh, and I loved it. I think it was absolutely phenomenal. I think I might be hyping it up too much for being a Christmas book, but I really, 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 really enjoyed this book. This is kind of what I thought Lovelight Farms would be. It did have the element of fake dating as well, but I feel like it just had something else. Like, I feel like there wasn't a ton going on in Lovelight Farms. And of course, I read these back to back, so I kind of naturally compare them. But this just had the perfect amount of family dynamics, had enough characters to kind of have their own storylines in a way, keep it interesting, and it was fast-paced and just easy, and it was so enjoyable. And from the prologue, I knew that I would love this author, and I've already looked up to see if she has any other books, and I might be getting one of those. I'm not really sure. And now for it's not even bad news, it's like semi-bad news. I don't think I will be finishing my TBR, which is fine. I did have a very ambitious TBR considering I had a lot going on in December. I had a graduation from school, I had a bunch of work stuff, and my sister's been in town for the last week, so I just had a lot going on. A very, very social month, and I feel very good about the amount of stuff that I did read, but the ones that I will not be reading this December are One Big Happy Family by Susan Mallery. Hello, YouTube people! There's Something About Mary by Cody Hall. But the ones that I did read, I cannot find where I put How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, to be honest. It is somewhere in this house. And I read that one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Beep. And I really enjoyed it. It was a good way to start the Christmas season. And then I listened to The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. I gave this one 4.5 stars out of 5, and it was super easy, super fast paced, very like whodunit, nice kind of like mystery way to break it up. And I read Love Light Forums. I gave this one a 3.5. I liked it, it just didn't really do a ton for me. Obviously, we know I read the One Day in December, and I give it a 2.5, and I quickly donated that one and the other book by that author. And then I finished off with Snowed In, and I gave that one 5 stars. I think this book was so good, and it was so easy, and I'm super happy to leave Christmas on a note of 5 stars. So I'm excited to read the last 2 next year, but for right now, that is just the wrap-up. Anything you want to say?
She reads so quickly that I can't even like finish sending a text by the time she's finished a book. And I read like one book every 2 years, but that it takes me the whole 2 years. So if you read slowly like me, it's okay.
But that is it for this video. Thank you for watching.
Oh. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Okay.